Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the worst basketball insert designs of 1995. And sometimes when I'm doing this list, I have a difficult time choosing because of how similar the designs are. In this case, I have a difficult time choosing because of how different the designs are, because when I look at the four worst, because I've got 8 here total, I have 3 honorable mentions and I have 5 that are the worst. And when I look at the 4 at the very top, they're so different that I've got to choose, well, which reason for it to be lousy do I go with? And I could go any way with any of these 4. I've got them in this list. I'm going to explain why I've got them ranked 1 through 4, but they could be interchanged frequently, basically for however you wake up in the morning, however you feel. They all have such a distinct issue that is unavoidable. But I'll be getting to that shortly. But I also got to say, of all 8 of these, I really don't care about completing any of these sets. Well, sorry. The first of the honorable mentions, I did care about finishing the set, and thankfully I've already finished it. But all the other ones, I just don't even think about collecting them. Whether I've finished the set or not, I just don't care. Because each one of them is either forgettable or I wish I could forget about them. Either one, and really, there's only one I wish I could forget about, and all the other ones I do forget about. So, yeah, all right, that's good. But like I said, the one card that I did pay attention to, wanted to complete, was the Fleer Metal Silver Streak cards. And the thing about the Silver Streak cards is that there is a fanciness to it that I like. But also, you're probably noticing that these cards have yellowed horribly. And the jaundicing of these cards is something that doesn't even bother me. I could easily try to go out and get clean versions of these that still look clear, but I don't care to. Because like I said, it's not a big deal. At least I did complete the set and I liked that I did it. But again, that's because they look fancy. Not because they look good, but they look fancy. They're clear acetate cards with a cool echo. I like that. But there's nothing else on the card, and I want there to be. Now, would it be a border? I don't know, maybe. Do I need just a counterpoint to the echo? I don't know what it is, but there's something that is missing. In fact, it might be that I might need a new location for the Fleer Metal logo. And it could be that if I did that, then the card would actually look good. But it's just boring. It is, there's nothing going on it. So I look at it and it grabs my attention. It starts to get me interested, and then I'm over it. I lose interest because there's nothing to keep me engaged. So my cards are all really heavily yellowed. That's perfectly fine with me. I got the set done, so I'm good and I can move on. And in moving on, we shift over to another set that has a lot of similarity to that in terms of I'm glad that I put it together and is out of the way, which is with Topps, the Top Flight cards. Now, I recently did the football list, and on that I have the equivalent to this set over in football, which was their Florida Hotbed cards, which are basically pack fillers. I think these were unique to maybe jumbo packs in retail. Could be that they were like 1 per pack there. It seems like that's the case. Because these cards, whether it is the Florida Hotbed cards or the Top Flight cards here, they both do the same thing, which is they have enough of a design to them that they look like they're worth collecting, or at least getting the set complete, but they're never cards you're going to be seeking out. Basically, you're trying to collect other sets, and while you're doing that, you're putting this set together and getting it done and getting it out of the way, and there's nothing memorable about it. At least with the Florida Hotbed cards, the background looked good, and if you could just get rid of that stupid player, the card might actually be worthwhile because the background has its own interest. In the case of the Top Flight cards, there's nothing about these fighter jets that's at all engaging. The effect at the bottom has some cool etched foil in it, but the effect is cool, the design is not. There's nothing about this card that is interesting, that's memorable, that pulls you in. But for white noise, something in the background, something you just kind of get out of the way, okay, works perfectly fine. There's a pleasantness to the card, and that's about it. Yeah, these are weird sets. I'm actually kind of fascinated by these in kind of a morbid way. All right, and then we've got our last honorable mention, which is over at Fleer Ultra with the Rising Stars cards. Now, Rising Stars, these cards have something I really like, which is there are 4 basketballs with a different effect on each one, and that's cool. Why are the basketballs separate with this big chromed area around it? It has a really cheap quality to it. Here's the way I want to describe this. This looks like somebody went and said, I'm going to try to make a Fleer card, but they didn't know how to make a Fleer card. And that somebody was a Fleer designer. The Fleer company didn't know how to make a Fleer card. Because look, we had been up until this point, and during this point, we were seeing etched foil and brushed metal cards that were really interesting. They're really cool. They were doing a lot of fun stuff with it. And then there's this. I mean, it is... As I've been trying to prepare this video, because I spend quite a while, I spent a couple hours going over this before I present it. I've been struggling with this particular card, figuring out what in the world do I say about it, and I don't know. Whatever it is, it's wrong. But at least it has the effect on the 4 basketballs, and so there's that. And that's the only reason that it's kept out of the top 5, which gives you an idea of what I think of the top 5. Or, well, actually... The one that probably is going to be disagreed with is going to be my number 5, which is the Finest Rack Pack cards. And this one, I acknowledge the card is better than I give it credit for. The issue here with this card is that there is nothing about the card that looks designed or special. If I take the time to really look at it, I can see where they did that design work. And that's a big part of the tradition of early Finest cards, is that there is design work in there, but you got to take the time to try to find it and bring it out. This card very much has that. I mean, it has some things that could, I guess, maybe do something, but it looks to me like a test card that was cranked out to just experiment with something that was never supposed to make it to market. It doesn't look like a professional card, and when you have that not quite cranberry color that is so strong and so bold, the card needs to deliver, and there's nothing that intrigues me about the card. I'm not even curious to find out what's wrong with it. It's just kind of there. And frankly, so with 1995 Finest, all of the inserts look like they're related. Even if an insert looks nothing like the others, at least I can look at it and go, oh, I see how it ties in with the others. This is the one that doesn't. And that's why I put it here, because it is a letdown. The 3 honorable mentions, all right, at least I get it, and there's something that pulls me in about each one of them. Something that does it. With this, there's nothing. And it's not even bland, it's underdeveloped. Well, I would say it's undeveloped. That's what I would say. It's undeveloped. It's like they didn't even bother to try to design it. All right. I've been bashing on this enough. I need to move on to number 4. And now we're moving into the realm of 4 wildly different cards that all are equally lousy. And the first one, we're back to Fleer Metal with their Metal Force. And this is a card that I don't even want to say is under-designed. It's not designed. Actually, that sounds kind of familiar from the previous one. But okay, here's the issue with this card. So the problem with this card is that they have a kind of an effect that has kind of like a metallic something, or is that supposed to be broken ice, well, it's Metal Force. So is it supposed to be metal or metal shavings? Or I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, it like breaks apart to an acetate background, or what is this? That's the thing with this card. What in the world is this? Do I take the protector off? Why? What is going to be the advantage of taking the protector off? Because you're not going to be seeing anything. That's the thing. It's bizarre. There's nothing to look at with this card. What even is it? As I'm saying this, I'm going, why do I have it at number 4? Well, let's move on to number 3 and see. Okay, well, now here at number 3, we have Stadium Club Spike Says. And I will say the one good thing about this card is that on every single one of the cards, there's a different picture of Spike Lee. That's cool. That's the only thing that's cool. It's the only thing that's good, because the rest of the writing on the card is all done with a prismatic holofoil, which means you can't see it. Now, if you play around with it, the effect is kind of cool, but you have to really work to make that happen, and you still can't read the text. But here's the way that I describe this, because, okay, a full bleed image with basically just kind of some text on it. I'm not a fan of that, but that's Fleer Rookie Sensations, and that's not on this list. And the reason is because that card is successful. This one is best described like this. For those of us who remember going to card shows and collecting cards in the early to mid 90s, we all remember those promo cards that were cranked out where somebody had access to printing and they would take a bootleg picture of Michael Jordan or Shaquille O'Neal or Bo Jackson, and they would put all of this. Normally they would use a prism on it, and the prism would, I mean, it looked really tacky, terrible. On the back there's basically nothing, and it says 1 out of 5,000, which was super rare. And there's actually kind of a fixed number of these, so you can actually collect them. I don't know if anybody's put together a whole checklist of them and anchored down what they all are, but we all remember those things, and this card looks like it. Stadium Club, Topps, dude, come on, make your card look like a professional company made it. This looks 100% like some person who cranked something out at a printer and then went to card shows and sold these for 50 cents a piece. It looks like that. It doesn't look at all professional. That's just stupid. And come on, man, it's dedicated to Spike Lee. Do take advantage of this. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Number 2, though, I'm going over to Hoops to the Block Party cards. And this is actually a decent enough card in comparison to what we were just looking at. But that's a big stretch to say that. Okay, so the thing about these cards is what they wanted to do is to play a trick, an ocular trick, where if you take red and blue glasses, and I happen to have a really nice pair here, and you look at these cards, it's supposed to look kind of 3D. First off, most of the cards don't work at all. Those that do, which are like the orange ones, they kind of have it, because the thing is, one eye is seeing it, the other eye is not seeing it, and so it looks like there's all it just doesn't work, dude. It really doesn't work. And the problem is that the consequence of that is that we have these super terrible cards that are obnoxiously just, this is a terrible set. And every single card is different. So it's not like you have some cards that look the same and then you have some others. Every one is its own obnoxious look. And on top of that, when I look at it, I'm thinking psychedelic art. But it's not psychedelic art. You know, they could have done tie-dyes. They could have done something that was like a Janis Joplin poster, or they could have done a spirograph or something. They could have actually done something, but this isn't even this. It isn't even that. It's supposed to be like a bad trip. When you put the glasses on, you're supposed to look at it and go, whoa, oh, so that's what people in the 60s were seeing when they were, shall we say, partying. It's supposed to have that effect, but it doesn't have that effect when you use the glasses, and when you don't have the glasses, it's even worse. This is an assault on our eyes. It's the best of these cards for the top 5, and it is the worst at the same time. But I am kind of surprised in many ways that my number 1 is Fleer Metal again. Boy, they were not doing well for basketball. The Steel Tower cards, because this card really should be 4, but it's the one, it's almost like this is personal, because I look at the card and I go, okay, I get it. So it has a chromed, dull silver metallic surface, and then it has slight ridges in it that are the skyscrapers, kind of like we saw in the 1994 Tower of Power. I think it was the 94 Tower of Power cards. Okay, I get that idea. And it's not, to me, it doesn't even look unfinished, because it could easily be a card that looks like it was supposed to have a die stamp that didn't hit, and so the ink didn't show up or something like that. Instead, when I look at this card, I look at it as a card where somebody was starting to develop it and went lunchtime and never came back. I need to have something on the card that interests me without my investing a tremendous amount of effort to try to make the card work. At least with Spike Says, the speckliness, you can play around with it and go, okay, that's kind of cool. At least with the bright colors of the Block Party cards, as obnoxious as they are, the bright colors have their own strength. It's like, okay, all right, I'll live with it. And with I don't really know what to say with the Steel Force cards. Those are pretty bad. But this one, for me, it's just empty. That's the thing. I feel like, why in the world are you forcing me to collect these cards? That's the way I see it. I feel like I'm being forced to collect the cards. That is bad. Really bad. So I'm sorry that that's personal to me, and I guess that the finest cards are kind of personal to me as well. But yeah, I stand by those. All right, so that's my list of the 5 worst of all the basketball insert designs of 1995. It's going to be fun to see how I compare these to football, because all the football lousy cards are lousy for a very different reason than this. I'm also going to be doing baseball and hockey coming up, so that's going to be interesting to see how those sports, shall we say, failed to succeed. So definitely look out for those. Outside of that, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Thank you very much for watching.